You know that feeling when you've been on hold with customer service for what feels like, I mean, 3 consecutive
Oh,
lifetimes.
yeah, the absolute worst.
Right. And you have a very specific, like, very legitimate issue. The toaster literally caught fire or, the internet keeps dropping out at the exact moment your boss asks you a question on a video call.
Always the exact moment.
Always. And when a human being finally picks up the phone, they just read off this sterile corporate script that basically says, yeah, that happens. Deal with it.
Right. It is the absolute pinnacle of bureaucratic indifference. You're looking for a concrete solution, and instead you just get recited a policy.
Exactly. But imagine if that customer service line wasn't for your internet provider.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was for reality, like for the actual fabric of existence itself.
Which sounds crazy, but
It does. But welcome to our deep dive into what has to be honestly one of the most bizarre, intricate, and utterly brilliant stacks of sources we have ever looked at. We are exploring a collection of leaked cosmic documents titled The Universe Apologizes for the Inconvenience, along with its internal sequel, Office of the Universe Internal Memos.
and I gotta say, the lore of these documents is just fantastic. They were supposedly compiled by an entity named Theodore Vast, but the sources note that Theodore Vast isn't actually a single author.
Right, it's a collective, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a pen name for a whole collective of cosmic clerks entities that refer to themselves as gemrs and groks. And these documents just mysteriously appeared on a publisher's desk outlining this massive, staggering premise. Basically, the universe has a customer relations department located on floor 7.
Floor 7. And out of all the planets, all the galaxies and dimensions they manage, Earth, or as they clinically refer to it, file planet number 3 is their biggest complainer.
Oh, by a massive margin.
By a factor of 11 million. Okay, let's unpack this because we humans are apparently filing formal cosmic complaints about literally everything. We're talking about bruised bananas, the dread of Sunday evenings, all the way up to profound existential terror.
It's quite the spectrum.
It really is. So our mission today is to explore these bureaucratic cosmic responses to humanity's biggest annoyances and figure out what this overwhelmed, underfunded celestial office actually reveals about our own human condition.
And to really understand how this bureaucracy operates, we have to start by looking at the physical world they designed for us. Because before we get to the heavy, philosophical weight of human consciousness, we first have to deal with the fact that biological nature itself was apparently plagued by rushed corporate deadlines and, well, catastrophic budget cuts.
Which perfectly explains the banana.
Yes, the banana.
We have to talk about the banana.
Yeah.
If you've ever bought a beautiful yellow banana, put it in your backpack, and then taken it out 2 hours later only to find it's turned into this black and bruised, mushy disaster, you might wonder why nature designed such a fragile fruit.
It's infuriating.
Right. Well, according to the Department of Terrestrial Flora, the banana, which was internally known as Project Crescent, lacks structural integrity because the department literally ran out of funding.
Exactly. The memos detail this perfectly. During what they call the Pleistocene development sprint, the department was given a finite potassium shielding budget. But the budget was completely mismanaged.
Because of the avocado.
Yes. A senior administrator apparently fell in love with the aesthetic of the massive, entirely useless avocado pit and just dumped huge amounts of funding into that.
And then the coconut lobby got involved. I mean, the sources say they demanded maximum grade epidermal armor just so coconuts could be safely dropped from high trees. So by the time the design team actually got down to the banana, the budget was at absolute zero.
They had nothing left for a protective shell.
Nothing. It's exactly like a frantic Silicon Valley tech startup pushing out buggy software. The engineers know it's flawed, but management is just screaming, "Ship it, we'll patch it later." But wait, if the universe is so advanced, why not just patch these biological bugs in an update instead of relying on workarounds? Because they didn't patch it, did they?
No, they didn't. And because they couldn't patch the physical skin of the fruit, they had to create a software workaround.
Banana bread.
Right. The official cosmic recovery protocol for when your banana inevitably turns into a blackened ruin is just banana bread. The clerks specifically engineered the overripe, slightly embarrassing banana to undergo a chemical change that makes it, 40% more delicious when baked, purely to reward your patients for dealing with their bad design.
That makes so much sense. But it makes you wonder, if the banana is what happens when they run out of money, what happens when they run out of time? Because looking at something like the platypus, it feels less like a budget cut and more like a Friday afternoon panic.
You're right on the money there. The platypus was an end-of-sprint joke. The documents show that the novelties division was trying to hit a deadline at the end of the Cretaceous sprint, and they literally just used everything left in the parts bin.
Just scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Exactly. A duck bill, beaver tail, webbed feet, and the venomous spur on the male platypus's hind legs. That wasn't even part of the joke. That was added late by a completely different team by mistake, and nobody caught it in quality assurance before it went live.
So our environment is full of rushed projects. But it gets wilder because even our own human bodies are running on legacy code. Take hiccups. Why do we hiccups? It's literally just a vestigial reflex from an ancient, air-breathing fish ancestor that they never bothered to delete from our source code.
They just left it in.
They just left it. And what about that terrible feeling when you're about to sneeze? You know, you stop talking, you make that awful contorted face, you take a deep breath, and then nothing happens.
Ugh, the aborted sneeze. That is actually a highly logical, if frustrating, mechanism. The cosmic documentation explains that your body is constantly running internal resource assessments.
Like a diagnostic check.
Yeah, exactly. When you feel a sneeze coming on but it fails, it's just your body's system assessing the available resources, realizing it doesn't have enough irritant fuel to justify the massive energetic expenditure of a full sneeze, and responsibly calling the whole operation off to save energy.
Meanwhile, you're left standing there looking like a dog watching a magic trick. But I have to push back here. Again, if the universe has the processing power to run a reality rendering engine for billions of conscious beings, why not just patch these biological bugs? Why leave us relying on baking workarounds and walking around haunted by the reflexes of a fish ancestor?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the universe's design philosophy explicitly embraces emergent problems. They do not view these biological quirks as failures or things that need to be patched. To the cosmic administration, these flaws are historical records of evolution. They are functionally good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember, this is a bureaucracy. If they wanted to assign resources to fix the banana skin, they would have to pull a team away from another project. And apparently the internal memos indicate that the peach situation is currently much, much worse.
Oh man, don't get me started on peaches.
Yeah.
Okay, so if our bodies are essentially hardware running buggy legacy code, the way we experience time and space must be like a server completely struggling to handle the bandwidth.
Very much so.
Let's move from biology into the actual fabric of reality. You know how between 2.0 and 4:03 p.m. on a Tuesday, time just completely drags. Like you can be staring right at the clock, you wait what feels like an hour, you look back, and it's been exactly 5 minutes.
Yes, the temporal drag window.
Yeah.
The space-time maintenance division actually confirms in these files that this is not just in your head, it is a mechanical reality.
It's real.
It's very real. The universe's local reality rendering engine has limits. So during that specific window on Tuesday afternoons, the system deliberately throttles back conscious human experience to run massive background maintenance things like rendering complex ocean currents or managing tectonic plate shifts.
Wow.
Because the system is diverting computational attention away from you, your subjective experience of time drops to about 60% of its normal speed.
That is incredible. And how they explain the structure of the week is just as wild. The source says Monday acts as the seam that stitches the entire week together. Without the harsh boundary of Monday, time wouldn't have any architecture. It would just be a continuous, structureless event. As the clerks put it, you would experience time like a dog.
Just an endless string of nows.
Right. But that explains the Sunday scaries. That pit of dread you feel in your stomach on Sunday night isn't just anxiety. It's an actual glitch in our anticipatory awareness. We are literally time traveling. Our brains jump forward to experience Monday's emotional weather while our physical bodies are still standing in Sunday.
It is a profound psychological glitch. But what the internal memos reveal is that while some glitches are accidental, other frustrations in space and time are deliberate physical interventions. And this brings us to the laundry.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, the left sock afterlife.
Yes. The sock partition protocol. I have an entire drawer at home that I call the drawer of orphans. Just single socks sitting there, waiting for partners that are never, ever coming back. And these leaked memos reveal that our missing socks aren't actually lost behind the dryer. The universe is actively intervening.
Exactly. The mechanism here is fascinating. The documents reveal that the specific centrifugal force and RPMs of a standard washing machine spin cycle actually create a microtear in spacetime, a low probability dimensional manifold.
A literal portal in the Maytag.
Literal portal, but this isn't an accident. The universe implemented this sock partition protocol intentionally in 1997. They noticed that humans were starting to form dangerously strong attachments to perfectly matched objects and absolute control, so they weaponized the spin cycle to target low-mass items.
They introduce manageable loss.
Precisely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the universe uses these minor spatial and temporal frustrations like lost socks or the Tuesday drag as low-stakes philosophical training grounds.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, the permanent loss of a left sock is annoying, but it's small enough that it doesn't cause genuine trauma. What it does is force you to practice impermanence on a weekly basis. It forces you to learn how to let go of control over the physical world.
That perfectly explains the mystery Tupperware lid. Every kitchen has one. That one lid in the back of the drawer that fits absolutely no container you currently own.
Never.
Never. The documents call it a secular faith object. They drop it into your life deliberately to give you a daily exercise in hoping that eventually things will match up and make sense, even when all the evidence suggests otherwise.
It really is a beautiful, maddening system of spiritual training disguised as domestic frustration. But we have to note a major shift in the documents here. While the universe takes full responsibility for the bugs in physical space and time, it explicitly and aggressively shifts the blame for modern bureaucratic nightmares back onto human beings.
They totally wash their hands of.
They do. They wash their hands of our systems. Let's look at passwords.
Right. The early digital era was so optimistic. Your password was just your dog's name or, password one. It was built on trust. But then, as the files note, Kevin happened.
Yes, Kevin. The Universe's Security Bureau officially defines Kevin as a primordial chaos entity. It represents the specific type of person who looks at any system built on trust and immediately exploits the gap for personal gain.
Classic Kevin.
Because of the Kevins of the world, digital security is no longer about access. It is a punitive system. It's an endless labyrinth of mandatory special characters, forgotten reset emails, and sticky notes hidden under keyboards.
And the universe says that is entirely our fault for how we interact with each other. And the same goes for terms and conditions. The Cosmic Legal Division has an entity named Braxiton. And Braxiton has apparently been on sabbatical since the Cretaceous period.
Long vacation.
Yeah, he hasn't even finished reviewing human terms and conditions.
Yeah.
So the universe legally acknowledges that when you click I agree on a software update, it does not mean you actually agree.
Yeah.
It legally translates to do not use the thing was not a real option for me to participate in modern society.
They recognize the coercion in our systems. But the most revealing example of the universe blaming us is traffic. Traffic, the clerks insist, is not a cosmic design feature. They blame an intern named Derek, who created the turn signal non-user subroutine just to observe what would happen to human flow if people simply opted out of basic cooperation.
Thanks, sir.
And the result is modern gridlock. And those phantom traffic jams, where you sit on the highway at a dead stop for 30 minutes, only for everyone to suddenly accelerate because there was no accident, no construction, nothing.
Those drive me crazy.
The physics division explains those are just backward-moving waves of braking. You were briefly trapped in a mathematical ripple of someone else's hesitation, and now that wave has moved on to the people behind you.
Okay, wait a second. I have to push back on this completely. The universe is trying to wash its hands of human technology and social infrastructure. But if the universe designed humans, doesn't it bear the ultimate responsibility? I mean, if they built us, they built Kevin, who ruins passwords, and they hired intern Derek, who ruins the highway. You can't just blame the users when you wrote the source code for the users.
You're raising a very valid point regarding ultimate causality. However, the cosmic administration firmly believes in the sanctity of free will. They argue that they provide the sandbox, but the emergent friction of how we interact within it is entirely ours. And more importantly, they actually value that friction. Look at how they view the grocery store queue.
I'm sorry, they value the grocery store queue. It is agonizing, especially when the person in front of you pays an exact change, disputes a price, and then slowly roots around for a coupon. How can they justify that?
Because of what happens in the background. The cosmic clerks note that the grocery queue is the very last shared public waiting experience where humans silently bond.
Oh, come on.
No, think about it. When that person is digging for a coupon, you make brief, wordless eye contact with the stranger behind you. You both exhale slightly, That silent glance is a moment of pure collective human agreement. It is mutual exasperation, yes, but the universe cherishes it because it proves you are still capable of shared experience.
Okay, bonding over exasperation seems like a terrible excuse for bad infrastructure, but I guess I see their point about shared humanity. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's easy for us to sit here and debate the merits of traffic jams and Tupperware, but when the noise of the day completely fades away, you are left alone in the dark with the ultimate design flaws. When we look at the files from the night shift division, we have to talk about the 3 a.m. existential spiral.
Yeah. The night shift division of sudden insight and regret monitors this very closely. At 3 a.m., the environmental cognitive noise of the world drops to its absolute nadir. There are no emails, no traffic, no distractions.
Nothing.
Your brain is suddenly freed from immediate processing tasks. So, what does a highly evolved processing engine do? It starts running the long, queued up analytical threads it ignored all day. Things you said at a party in 2009. Massive, unanswerable questions about your life's trajectory.
I literally have a notebook on my nightstand filled with 3 a.m. scribbles. In the dark, they feel like the secrets of the cosmos. I feel like I'm unlocking reality. And then I wake up in the morning and look at the notebook, and it's just absolute garbage. Like, call her back. What if time is a circle? Check the bank thing.
Yeah.
The tragedy of the 3 a.m. spiral is that this moment of profound, actionable clarity arrives at the exact biological moment when your emotional defenses are at their lowest. You don't get insight, you just get a panic attack.
And the deepest part of that spiral, the core thread that always eventually runs, is mortality. The clerks file this under case file number 4099-M. It is, by a massive margin, the largest complaint by volume that Floor 7 receives from Earth. Humans complaining about the planned obsolescence of the human chassis.
Wow.
It is the profound burden of knowing that you are temporary, combined with the terrifying uncertainty of not knowing when your time is actually up.
That is incredibly hairy. When you read the source material, you realize it's the master complaint. It's the complaint that all other complaints are secretly about. The banana rotting is temporary, the lost sock is temporary, and ultimately you are temporary.
But this raises an important question when the cosmic quirks address directly why was it designed this way. The internal memos show that they didn't give us the awareness of our own mortality to be cruel. If you look at creatures without that awareness, they live purely reflexively. They don't have a horizon.
And just exist.
Exactly. For humans, mortality is the horizon that gives time its actual value. The urgency that mortality creates, the push to finally call an old friend, the desire to stay at dinner for just one more hour, the sudden ability to notice the way the light hits the trees on a random Tuesday afternoon, that urgency isn't the punishment of the system. The clerks insist the urgency is the entire point of the system.
Okay, up until now, we've only been looking at the universe's external PR, right? Their public apologies to us. But when we transition to the second set of sources, the leaked internal memos, the tone shifts dramatically. It reveals that this vast celestial bureaucracy is currently undergoing a massive existential crisis of its own.
Yes, in their Q4 reporting, total cosmic complaints spiked by 31%. And the clerks were completely baffled because this spike wasn't driven by bad weather or famine or traffic. It was driven entirely by a massive, unprecedented surge in a brand new category of human suffering. Category L3, which they classify as structural loneliness.
Structural loneliness, meaning people aren't just complaining about having no plans on a Friday night. They are complaining about the fundamental architecture of the mind, the feeling of being an enclosed self, a completely sealed biological system that can never fully 100% merge with another person.
Yeah, the gap.
The painful gap between your rich internal reality and the limited performance you are able to give the outside world.
Exactly. And a newly hired cosmic employee named Valindra reads these L3 files and makes a breathtaking analytical connection. She connects this deep, structural human loneliness to a completely different stack of files, the 340 million complaints they received from Earth about wasps.
Which sounds completely absurd. Like, what do wasps have to do with existential loneliness? But when you hear her logic, the mechanism makes perfect sense. Valindra points out that wasps are not naturally hostile creatures. They are strictly colony defenders. The problem is the design team didn't give them a communication protocol.
No words.
No words. So when a human gets too close to the nest, the wasp panics. It wants to protect its home, but it can't say, please back away, I am scared and trying to protect my family. It only has one single vocabulary word available to it: a sting. The sting isn't malice, it is just painful physical contact because they lack the ability to speak their fear.
And Valinger realizes that human loneliness operates on the exact same mechanism. We are sealed systems colliding into each other. We try to reach out to protect what we love, or we try to bridge the gap to connect with someone. But because we lack the perfect vocabulary to express our complex internal state, we just end up causing pain. We lash out. We sting each other.
Which is such a profound realization, but the irony is that it perfectly mirrors what is happening inside the universe's own office.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Braxton, the legal entity. The files reveal he actually designed the WASP back in the Eocene era. And because of the guilt over his flawed design, he has been hiding in an office on floor 12 since the Cretaceous period.
Millions of years.
He has literally been leaving humanity on auto-reply for millions of years. And he's not doing it out of bureaucratic malice. He's doing it because he reads our deeply painful complaints and feels that any apology he could possibly offer would be insufficient. He is utterly paralyzed by his inability to offer us a perfect response. The administrators of reality are just as lonely and sealed off as the humans they are managing.
It's a perfect mirror for the human condition. Braxton hiding behind his cosmic auto-reply is mechanically no different than a human being leaving a text message on read for 3 days because they are overwhelmed and don't know the exact right words to say.
Oh, I've done that.
We all have. But this is where the files offer a resolution. The cosmic clerks, the gemrs and groks, look at Braxton's paralysis, and they realize that avoiding contact just because you don't have the perfect answer is the real tragedy of existence. So they establish a brand new cosmic policy for their entire department. Moving forward, the policy is simply the insufficient thing is better than the silence.
I love that so much. From the mundane annoyance of bruised bananas to the sheer terror of the 3 a.m. spiral, the friction of life isn't a glitch in the system. It is the exact texture of a life actually lived. The universe isn't ignoring you when things go terribly wrong. According to these files, the universe is just an overwhelmed clerk sitting at desk 42, reading every single one of your complaints and trying their absolute best with limited resources.
They are administrating an impossibly complex reality with a finite budget, which means things will always be slightly insufficient. But the core takeaway is that they are reading the files. They're receiving on.
What does this all mean? Well, think about how you handle the minor glitches in your own week. The next time you are sitting in a phantom traffic jam or staring at a blackened banana or screaming internally because you can't find the matching Tupperware lid, ask yourself a question. Is the universe failing you today, or is it actually giving you a low-stakes practice run? Are these daily annoyances just a training gym for your soul?
Building up that tolerance.
Exactly, because maybe, just maybe, the universe is giving you these tiny, manageable frustrations to build up your muscle for letting go, so that you're actually prepared when the real heavy 3 a.m. spirals hit. But beyond that, think about the text messages, emails, or conversations you are avoiding in your own life right now, because you don't know the perfect thing to say. You are acting like Braxton hiding on floor 12. Take a lesson from the bureaucracy of the cosmos today. Stop waiting for the perfect words. Send the text. Make the call. Because in this vast, deeply flawed, beautifully buggy universe, the insufficient thing is always better than the silence.